I'm Gregory Frost, and I'm going to read a little bit from my story, A Hard Day's Night at the Opera. The sound of screaming arrived before the riotous crowd hove into view. Ahead of the mob, 4 figures ran for their lives toward the massive train station where half a dozen tracks paralleled and intersected. The figure in the lead, tall and skinny with a huge mustache and glasses and sporting a white tailcoat and trousers, shouted back to his comrades, "There's one pulling out right now. Jump on it, boys." He leapt onto the platform of the last car, turned and pulled the others up the steps. The first one looked enough like him to be his brother, but was clean-shaven and wore a cloth cap with his coat. The next had the sweet face of a gentle crooner. The fourth one, wearing a light overcoat, was the shortest of the 4 and had a prodigious proboscis. A wild gleam twinkled in his eyes. Instead of entering the train, he turned, drew a perfectly intact pie from inside his coat, and heaved it at the pursuing crowd. "Honked you off, did they, Ringo?" asked the mustachioed leader. "Go on with you." The pie-spattered mob backpedaled as if anticipating more of the same. They turned like a gulp of swallows in formation to run alongside the track. Those nearest proved to be young women in school uniforms, and behind them the mass of adults looked very like parents and professors and police constables. The tall figure paused to light a cigar. "Well," he shouted, "thank you all for coming, or however you responded to our teaching. But you know, we really must be going." He took a deep bow just as a large rock sailed over him, bounced off the back of the train, and rolled against his foot. He gave it a glance. "Here we are, stoned again," and bent low, he ducked quickly inside the car as more rocks, bricks, and even shoes crashed and clattered against the back of the train. Inside the car he continued walking low, arriving at the far end without spotting his mates. As he passed the restroom door, however, it inched open, and a hand reached out, caught his collar, and dragged him inside. The foursome were packed so tightly into the small space that Ringo sat in the sink with his knees drawn up. He blew an enormous bubble of gum that exploded over most of his face. "Hey, boss, any of them conscious?" asked the cloth-capped member of the band. "No, but no thanks to you, Giorgio, you and your peccadillos." "Hey, I pecked a pip of peccadillos." "She was a pip," replied the 4th member with a sigh. "I pecked her myself." "Cheeky of you, Paulo." Ringo whistled. "You too, huh?" said Giorgio. "She certainly was ripe for the pecking. That's a good one, eh, Lenono?" "You boys smooched your way through an entire graduating class, which is the only class you've had as long as I've known you." At that point, there was a knock on the door. "Ticket!" "Well, there's an insult to injury," said Lenono. "You got any money, Captain?" asked Giorgio. "Do I look like I've got money?" "No, you look like you've got indigestion." "Elementary, my dear Whopper. Anyway, you can't buy tickets on trains anymore." Ringo whistled again and jumped down from the sink. He reached into his baggy trousers and pulled out a rather worn train ticket. He handed it to Lenono, who looked it over. "Well, at least I've got a ticket to ride. Now everybody else keep stum." Straightening up and puffing a cloud of smoke ahead of him, Lenono opened the door. The conductor tried to see around him, but the emerging smoke was too thick, and he drew back, coughing. "That's bad for your health, you know. You should give it up." "Now, here you are, my good man." Lenono handed him the ticket. The conductor took it from him, eyed it doubtfully. "This is an old ticket," he said. "Well, it took me forever to pack. You know what it's like when you can't find your socks because you're wearing them?" "Well, all right. Never mind. How far are you going, sir?" "How far can I get?" he continued, puffing. An arm reached low around Lenono and carefully dropped a wet wad of chewing gum into the conductor's trouser pocket. A string led from the gum into the restroom. "East Anglia," said the conductor. "Well, what if I want to go to West Anglia instead?" "You'd have to change trains." "Well, it was hard enough catching this one. I'll stick with East Anglia." The conductor handed him back his punch ticket and turned away. As he headed up the aisle, his trouser pocket turned inside out, and a dozen or more tickets spilled behind him. Oblivious, he continued on, the string dragging along after. Lenono collected all the tickets off the floor of the coach. Ringo came out to assist, and Lenono gave them all to him. "That's the tickets. You can stop stringing them along now, Ringo." Nodding vigorously, Ringo gave his string a hard tug, but instead of pulling free the conductor's trousers, the gum stuck and ripped out the pocket, which tore the seam right down the pants leg. A few passengers gasped, and a few others tittered. Giorgio, peering around the door to the loo, cried, "Is there a tailor in the house?" The conductor by now had turned about. He saw what had happened and where the string glued to his pocket led, and he bowled his way back along the carriage. "I should have known better," Lenono said. "Let's go, boys." The four of them fled the loo and out of the car. Giorgio emerged with a toilet plunger that he shoved into the handle of the door, jamming it closed to slow the conductor while they escaped. In the next carriage, Ringo kept impeding their progress as he tried to sit in the lap of every lovely woman seated along the aisle. Paolo and Giorgio had to pry them loose from his embraces. Finally, they each hooked an arm under his and lifted him into the air. He drew up his feet and swung back and forth as they clumsily made their way along the carriage, Paolo in the lead saying, "Pardon me and my monkey." This unfortunately gave the conductor time to get the jammed door open, and he murderously marched along the carriage armed with a plunger, ignoring the laughter that his ripped pants and displayed boxers engendered. He soon reached the dining car. It was busy with many of the tables occupied. In one, a woman was dining alone, but with her dog seated in the chair beside her. He would have stopped and insisted the dog be removed, but he was in too much of a hurry. Further along, one booth contained a thin, mustached man in shirt sleeves and his rather grotesque family. The wife, draped in a shawl that matched the tablecloth, had long brown hair, wore round glasses, and seemed to be knitting. Smiling, she displayed such prominent canines that he thought she could be a vampire. The third, the baby, had a napkin around its neck, a doily on its head, and crossed eyes, and a strange round mouth with protruding tongue. It reminded him of an old cigar roller named Gookie, who made such a face whenever he was lost in his work. The conductor couldn't help laughing at the memory. The poor defective creature would surely grow up to be the butt of endless jokes, just as Gookie had. A handsome waiter in a vest and apron stood by their table pouring water for each of the three. He went up to the waiter. "Excuse me, have you seen Four Men run through here?" "No, is it playing at the cinema?" "What? Ah, never mind. I'll try not to." The conductor pushed past him and hurried out of the dining car, but his trousers caught in the door handle and ripped some more. "He's suffering a boxer rebellion," Paolo noted. Lenono took his glasses back from Giorgio, brought his cigar out from beneath the table. Ringo uncrossed his eyes. Paolo set down the water pitcher, took his jacket from an empty seat, and put it back on. "All right," said Lenono, "let's go the other way quick before he comes back." They all stood and headed back down the aisle, Ringo held between Paolo and Giorgio. Paolo nodded at the woman with the dog. "What sort of dog is that, eh?" Giorgio answered, "That's a Liverpoodle. Pretty good, eh, boss? If I had Maxwell's silver hammer, I'd clang you to a liver puddle. Move!" And out of the dining car, they ran. If you want to know how this story turns out, and there's quite an adventure coming, buy your own copy now. You're getting sleepy. I'm getting sleepy. Buy a copy of Across the Universe. Thank you all very much.